Hello guys, in this video I'd like to share to you on the pros and cons of living in a multicultural or multilingual society in Malaysia. I was born and bred in Malaysia. I went to high school, university, company where the working language is neither Cantonese nor Mandarin. However, I'm using these languages right now for work in Hong Kong. So how amazing is that? So my Mandarin proficiency level is just at a higher school level certificate. And my Cantonese level actually was never been tested academically. It is just at a Hong Kong TVB drama or Hong Kong movie conversation level. So no one would believe that watching too much Hong Kong drama or Hong Kong movie could land me a job in Hong Kong. So for all the parents in the world, please don't nag your children for watching too much American TV show, Hong Kong drama or Korean drama, because at one day these will benefit them. So when I was living in Malaysia, I hardly spoke any Cantonese word, but I do heard it a lot on the street in Malaysia. But usually I just speak Mandarin, English or Malay language, which is our local language. So mostly English during work. I speak Mandarin with my parents and some of my friends, my primary school and high school friends with Mandarin, and I speak English or Malay if I were to speak to a stranger. So you must be thinking that, wow, you can speak 3 different languages, but that's not the case, because we Malaysians, we consider ourselves speaking one universal language, which is Manglish. It's like a Creole language that is mixed with English, Chinese, Hokkien, Malay, Cantonese, and so on. So we use this language to communicate and interact with the people within the community in Malaysia. So just don't misunderstand that Malaysian people can speak lots of language, that Malaysians are language talent speaker. So in fact, and to be precise, we are capable to speak different language word in a single sentence. So if I want to say this out, you're not going to understand our Manglish because I've mixed so many words inside this sentence. For example, like, hey, I'm damn hungry, let's go makan lah. Hey, you bojo lah, you damn lam xi lah weh. It's not fair lah. Hey, where are you going? Can I tumpang your car? 怎么你这样子的? It's not fair lah. So for most case, most Malaysian, their proficiency for each respective language is not at a tip-top level, which is not a very good level. So like me, myself, my Mandarin is not very good. I can speak and read, but I couldn't write that much. And my Cantonese is even worse than my Mandarin. As I've told you, my Cantonese level was just at a TVB Hong Kong drama conversation level. And my Malay is actually much better than my Cantonese and Mandarin because I've been studying Malay language for my whole life when I was in school in Malaysia. So if I have to do a formal presentation in Mandarin or Cantonese, I'm going to need to have a script with me during the presentation. So never in my life ever present in Chinese or Mandarin, except I was in a primary school. So it must be freaking weird when I was in Hong Kong and I have to speak Cantonese and Mandarin during the interview. So it was quite funny when the interviewer came into the room and he saw me as a Chinese person. The first word that he said was Cantonese. So I have to go with the flow. I can't say that. Sorry, what did you say? Can you speak in English? So what I did, I just speak Cantonese to him and replaced whatever words that I don't know into English. That's all. 我之前喺馬來西亞大學讀 Bachelor Degree of Built Environment， 然之後我就入一間 E&M Consultant 嘅 Electrical and Mechanical Consultant， 就做嗰啲顧問嘅項目啦。我嘅 Supervisor 就教我一啲工程嘅設計，例如冷氣啊、風火水電嗰啲設計，然之後我就得到有啲經驗啦，覺得想進修少少。之後我就過嚟香港科技大學就讀智能工程建築啦。讀咗1年啦，大多數都係讀嗰啲環境嘅工程啊 IAQ， 即係講嘅經驗咧，大多數都係風火水電冷氣設計同埋環境嘅顧問嘅。 So that would be the advantage and disadvantage on the language capability. So another one I want to talk about is the culture exposure, that Malaysians are exposed to a diversified culture and religion. We understand people's ways of living because we have Christians, Hindu, Catholic, Buddhist, Muslims, atheists in Malaysia. So it seems that living in Malaysia could expose me to a wide range of religions and cultures and traditions. So it makes us being culturally sensitive and being mindful with other people. So in that case, it would be easier to make friends across the globe because we know a lot about religion and culture. So when I was in Hong Kong, some of the typical questions that Hong Kong people or Chinese people ask me is that whether I can marry to multiple wives, to many wives, on whether I must eat with my right hand, or ask me whether I eat with my bare hand. So all these things are actually from Muslim. And by looking at my appearance, they don't really know whether I'm a Muslim or Buddhist or Christian. I could able to identify whether a person is a Muslim, a Christian or Buddhist by looking at his lifestyle, the way he speaks, his gesture, all this kind of thing. I can easily identify whether he's Muslim or Christian or Buddhist or atheist. So like me myself, I'm a Buddhist, half atheist. I have a very wide perception of religions because I am very interested on different kinds of religions, especially Muslim and Christian. I even have a tattoo on a Hindu mantra. So if you try to look at here, this mantra is Gayatri mantras, came from the Hinduism. So for people like me in Malaysia, we embrace a lot of religion exposure, and this is how I embrace them. And whatever thing I like about parts of the religion, I would just try to understand and absorb it. And this is how we live in Malaysia. So however, knowing too much might end up forgetting your own cultural identity. This is the biggest problem in Malaysia. So living my childhood and adult life in Malaysia as a descendant from the Fujian province from the Republic of China, I always thought that my mother tongue was Putonghua, Mandarin or Standard Chinese, but somehow I was wrong. Hokkien or Minnan proper, which is Minnan is my actual dialect or mother tongue. I never really appreciate my mother tongue, unlike the local people in the mainland China or Hong Kong. They preserve their own dialect at any possible means, only to speak Mandarin just to communicate with the people across different provinces. So for example, speaking Cantonese in Hong Kong is very important as a working language, and it is okay to mix with English. That's what other people have been doing. So people in the working field would feel more approachable if to speak or to hear Cantonese. They want to feel the sense of identity or culture, and Hong Kong people are very proud of their Cantonese language, which is something I respect. And I have to admit that preserving your own dialect or mother tongue can preserve your own cultural identity. So sometimes I do feel a loss of cultural identity, whether I'm from Malaysia or from China, because we as overseas Chinese in Malaysia, in terms of cultural identity, we basically have two homes. One is China and one is Malaysia. However, when it comes to social economy and political wise, we as the overseas Chinese, we are practically have nowhere to go. So the Chinese rights in Malaysia is very limited. It's a very big issue in Malaysia. We as a Chinese Malaysians somehow have to go through a race quota system where you don't have much privilege, just like the Malay people in Malaysia. So according to the Malaysian Constitution, Article 153, it mentioned about the special position of Bumiputra. So Bumiputra stands for the local Malay people in Malaysia and other native people in Malaysia. So So when you say something like that, we as Chinese has no relation to these things. So we don't have this kind of special position or special privilege. So basically there are 4 privileges they have. The first one is the federal public service position, which means that the local Malay have more rights and privilege to be enrolled into a government job. And the second one is federal scholarship, which is something I feel very mad about it, because me as a Chinese person in Malaysia, getting a scholarship is very hard. All kinds of scholarships have been offered to the local Malay people. So the third one is federal trade or business license. So in this case, if you have a company in Malaysia, you want it to go public, you need to have local Malay people in the shareholder board, then you can only go public in Malaysia. The final one is the education enrollment. This is something I really don't like it, because I went to a public university in Malaysia, which is the University of Malaya. 80% of the students are local Malay people, which means that they have more rights and more privilege to enter this university than Chinese person. So you can see that Malaysian government is giving a lot of privilege to the local Malay people, and they're giving us a little leeway, a little freedom to Chinese. I could tell you, no matter how little opportunity has been given to us as a Chinese, we make the most out of the least of it. We fight, we persist, and we persevere. That's why when you meet a Chinese person in Malaysia, mentally we are much stronger than any other Chinese person in China or Taiwan. Because what does not kill us simply make us stronger. Most economic growth in Malaysia is driven by the Chinese businessman and entrepreneur. So if you try to look at Singapore, which used to be a part of Malaysia, and look how far they have gone. So if Chinese were given equal rights and privilege like what they have been doing in Singapore, Malaysia would have gone different. That's all about it. Pros and cons of living in a multilingual and multiracial society in Malaysia. I hope you guys understand more about Malaysia. And for the people in Hong Kong, try to appreciate your privilege and rights, because you guys can enjoy a lot of things in Hong Kong.